Welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. We got a great show for you this week. I'm Jeff Warren. I'm here with my buddy Len Hunsaker. How you doing, Len?
I'm doing well. Hopefully everybody's having a good week out there.
Absolutely. I hope you're having a good week. Whenever you're listening to this, if you're in your car, if you're on the treadmill, if you're taking a walk, taking a run, wherever you are, we hope that you are doing well. And if you're on YouTube, hope you're enjoying the content here. Give this video a like and make sure you subscribe, share it with your friends and families out there who may be Philadelphia sports fans. Been doing it 12 years, as I mentioned, 12 years strong. And we love talking about these Philly sports teams. And we've got a ton to get into this week. We're certainly going to talk about the fact that the Philadelphia 76ers now have the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft. We're going to get into Pete Rose and how he has officially been reinstated in Major League Baseball, now can possibly be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, even though he's no longer with us. We'll dive into that. We're going to talk about Brandon Marsh on this Phillies team as well. Since returning to the Phillies after his rehab assignment, he's really been killing it. And from there, we're going to get into some Philadelphia Union talk. And then finally, the Philadelphia Flyers, they have made a new hire as their head coach. We're going to dive into it and certainly get into a lot of Flyers talk with our guest this week. It's what we're throwing down on the table. We've got Kelly Hinkle from BroadStreetHockey.com. So that's the agenda, folks, that we're going to be getting into. Len, if you noticed, I didn't mention the Eagles schedule. I didn't mention it at all, buddy, because guess what? Phil, we don't cover it because it's ridiculous. No offense to anybody.
Yeah, it's like months away before the season even begins to start. So it's just like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
I get it. It's fun to, just kind of look ahead, maybe to me, the big thing is and this is something that I've done in the past and maybe some of you have, if you're planning a trip to an away game,
Yes.
getting to see, okay, what are the weekends we're looking at? What are the most appealing destinations, the most appealing games we might go to? That's where it gets really fun for me. Other than that, I don't know. I can't really care.
Because you've done fans of Philly before, right? And there's no
Yeah,
promo
and
here with them or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, no promo here, but they do top-notch work. I'm not gonna, just because they don't sponsor us doesn't mean I can't, acknowledge when they do something well, and they do a good job. So
absolutely. So we're not, folks, we don't get into the Eagles schedule. We haven't for years and years and years. Like Len said, it's just so early to be talking about it. It's kind of just like it'd be filler, quite frankly, for us. Much. And that's not what we want to do.
There's a lot going on this week. We do have a good amount of stuff to talk about. So
absolutely. Well, let's dive into it because I cannot believe what happened. I know you, Eric, myself, we're in our homes and we are watching the NBA draft lottery, Len. And all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen for the 76ers. They got a top 4 pick. And at first we didn't think they had it. There was all this confusion. And then all of a sudden they're in the top 4. And then all of a sudden they get the number 3 overall pick. And the implications of this, what it means for the future of this team and this franchise here. Look, they're not going to get Cooper Flagg. They're likely not going to be drafting Dylan Harper out of Rutgers. Ace Bailey really seems like the guy who probably should be drafted. Daryl Morey, in my opinion. That's what I'm thinking at this point. But we're certainly going to get into it here. But I don't know. What were your overall thoughts? Because I was like crapping my pants. I was like, I cannot believe Adam Silver let this happen for the 76ers. Can't believe he let it happen.
Well, it's actually kind of funny because, you mentioned being at home for it. I was not at home. I was on the road.
Oh, I was driving.
Were. Yeah, no, I was driving back home from South Carolina.
Oh,
and right. I was listening to the the lottery show on Sirius, while I was on the road. And I happened to look down at my phone and I saw a couple texts and it was you guys. And it was like, and there must have been some confusion because I think there was a text from either you or Eric, and, Silver screwed us again or just something to that effect, where I think there was initially maybe a thought that they didn't get one of the top picks and
yes,
I guess it conveyed to Oklahoma City, but then shortly after, we found out that it was them and Charlotte and San Antonio and ultimately Dallas that made the top 4. So yeah, I mean, interesting. I mean, obviously I'm glad they get to keep the pick. And we'll talk about what you think they should do and how we think things are going to fall. I'm gonna be upfront right now and say I would not be surprised at all if they trade this pick,
Oh my god.
and try to get another, because Daryl Morey doesn't care about the future. He cares about right now. He cares about winning right now. He cares about
Mm,
keeping his job right
yeah.
now. And that's all any GM ever cares about, is keeping their job. And how you do that is by winning. So he's not worried about what Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe is going to be 3 to 4 years down the road. I can promise you that right now. So that doesn't mean that they're going to trade the pick,
Right.
but I definitely, like, if you asked me gun to your head, what do you think they're going to do? I think that they try to trade the pick. I
Wow.
honestly
See,
do.
maybe I'm thinking too logically about this right now because, like, on paper, I think the Sixers need exactly what Ace Bailey offers this team right now. Forward who can develop into an elite shot making threat from the perimeter, which they desperately need. He has the physical tools to be a pretty good defensive player in this league as well. And yes, I do think the front office and Daryl Morey are going to go through all the options here. I think they're going to
Yeah.
look into all the options, including trading the pick like you're talking about. But to me, it feels like Bailey is likely the best outcome here in terms of moving forward with this team. If you have Ace Bailey, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Jared McCain, that that
It's a
starting
good
five
start.
sounds
Yeah.
pretty good.
You're thinking of it rationally, and you're also thinking of
Yes.
it from the standpoint of somebody who's going to be here 10 years from now,
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
watching this team. Daryl Morey, I would be shocked if he is still here 10 years from now. So that's the lens you're looking at it through. And, there's a lot of things that could happen. In addition to the Sixers, possibly chopping the pick, San Antonio, I mean, there's rumblings that Giannis is open to move out of Milwaukee. And right now, the Spurs are the hot rumor in terms of giving up the number 2 pick. Dylan Harper is a guy that could be considered a franchise player. He does not fit in with the fit isn't there in San Antonio because you have De'Aaron Fox and
Yeah.
you have Stephon Castle, who won
Yep.
Rookie of the Year. Do you need another guard?
Right.
For that reason, I even saw a couple mock drafts that said maybe the Spurs go Ace Bailey at 2 because that's more of a need. Same thing with the Sixers, who are also a little bit guard heavy, and then maybe Dylan Harper falls to the
Yeah.
Sixers. So there's a lot of things that have to play out. There's a lot of just scenarios that are going to play out, and a lot of stuff that you're going to hear. I've heard things about Ace Bailey in terms of, yes, he can shoot, yes, he's got the length, all that stuff, but a lot of people are not really on board with his decision making with the ball.
Right.
He is turnover prone, so if the Sixers do go in that direction, you're going to have to wait on him to develop as a player a little bit, because he's got those deficiencies in his game. And so for that reason, he's a little bit polarizing. Whereas I've heard a name like VJ Edgecombe, if the top 2 are indeed, Flag and Harper, then a guy like VJ Edgecombe, who doesn't, the fit isn't as good with the Sixers, but he's more of a, well-rounded player, a good defensive player. Maybe the
Three and
shooting
D
isn't
guy.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 and D
But
guy. Mhm.
super athletic guard. But the upside with Bailey might be higher, but I guess it's all about your comfort level with the risk there. And I think there is some risk with Bailey, but he would be my pick. He would be the person I would want in terms of what I think is going to happen and what I want to happen are two different things. I would like to see them take Bailey, but who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know yet. And so we're certainly going to talk about it more in the coming weeks before this NBA draft. And again, a critical draft for them. We've got a critical draft with the Philadelphia Flyers, which we're going to be talking about with our guest Kelly Hinkle in a little bit. So with these two teams, the Philadelphia 76ers and Flyers, two imperative drafts that are right around the corner here. So Len, anything else for the Sixers before we move on? Because we got a jam-packed show this week.
No, it's just going to be
Okay.
interesting following, the rumors and the
Yeah.
workouts and things of that nature, and just seeing, like, do they, do they really think that, he's the guy, or is, because I don't think Giannis is going to be coming to Philadelphia. I just don't. If
I
I
don't
was
either.
him, I'd rather go to San Antonio and play with
Yeah.
Wembanyama. But who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen from a money standpoint? You never know
Yeah.
with this freaking 76ers team. Well,
Yep.
certainly going to be following it from here on out here at the PSD podcast show. But let's move on to the next topic that we wanted to dive into. And that is the fact that Pete Rose is now eligible to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame after he was officially reinstated this week, along with old shoeless Joe Jackson and 15 other deceased baseball players that were initially removed from Major League Baseball's permanent list of banned players. And this was according to a memo that came out from the league's commissioner. So it is possibly going to happen. I was going to say likely, but possibly going to happen here, Len. And I got to say, how many times have we talked about this over the course of many years on this podcast show? And we have our feelings about whether or not Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I think that from a fan standpoint, we would like to see it because of his contributions, of course, to the game. I know I've said a number of times on this show that I think players should be inducted into various sports and professional sports Hall of Fames because their story contributed to that particular sport. Certainly Pete Rose did. I would have loved for him to have been a better human being and for being baseball's all-time hits king to be enshrined in the sports museum in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yes, he should be there. But of course, we know that it's tarnished, when you're betting on your own team, as he did decades and decades ago. But he's no longer around, and I think that in itself kind of just lends weight to how Major League Baseball handles itself at times. I mean, the guy, as much of a piece of garbage as he was in life at times, he I think he deserved to be in before he died, and now hopefully it will happen. Because I hope it does, regardless of how he lived his personal life. I don't know. What are your thoughts here at this point, buddy?
Yeah, you still have the, just because he's reinstated doesn't automatically mean he's going to get in. You still
Yeah.
have the quote unquote gatekeepers of the game with the writers and, I guess veterans committee after that. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, he's not a slam dunk to get in right away anyway. But to me, it just, I mean, I don't want him to hang out with my family. I'm not asking him to hang out with me.
Well, he
I
won't be
don't.
anytime
Well,
soon.
I let's just go with if he was living. I'm not looking to build a personal connection there. As a baseball player, did he contribute to the story, like you said, and was he a good player,
Yeah.
or a great player? I mean, I think that the biggest argument against him, if you want to look at it from just a stats standpoint, um, is you could maybe call him a compiler, a guy that was around for 24 years. He is the all-time hit leader. He's also the all-time leader in games played, plate appearances, and at bats. So if you want to say, well, he hung around long enough, but there still has to be a reason for them to keep you around long enough to do that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So to me, you're supposed to go up there and get a hit, and he did it more than anybody.
Yep.
That
That's what you're
that's
supposed to
the
do.
argument. And he was
Exactly.
he was a part of one of the greatest dynasties in baseball history in the Big Red Machine.
Yep.
I don't know what else you want right there. I mean, he's in. I'm sorry.
I know.
If you're looking at it from an objective baseball standpoint, I don't know how you keep him out.
Like I said, I would have loved if he had been a better person in his personal life.
I wish everybody was. It would make
Exactly.
this world a lot better.
There you go. There you go. Nobody is perfect. And yeah, he was a real slime ball for a lot of different things in terms of his life. But
Yeah,
at
no,
the end of the
again,
day,
reprehensible human being, but so
yeah.
was Ty Cobb, and Ty Cobb's in
Yes.
there.
Yes.
I guess I wonder, it seems like now the criteria is, okay, you're banned, you have to die, and then we'll reinstate you. So I wonder, I mean,
That's the questionable thing here with this crap. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
now you're dead. Now we'll consider it.
yeah, it's kind of a, I mean, to me, it's an FU from baseball is what it is. I guess the steroid guys, they're not banned, so I mean, they're they're still on the ballot. So I guess it's a different kind of circumstance than you're going to see with Pete Rose. But
Yeah.
I put him in.
Put him
He's
in.
in. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as we're moving along with the show and the topics that we're going to be diving into this week here, and before we take our first break here, wanted to get into some Phillies talk, but specifically with one center fielder, and that is Brandon Marsh. I mean, and the question we have is, has he really turned the corner here since returning to the Phillies after his rehab assignment in the minors and before tonight's absolutely debacle of a game with or against the Cardinals? And I should say we're recording this on Wednesday, May 14th. What a horrendous game by this Phillies team. The pitching, it was
Well,
horrendous.
yeah.
Aaron Nola, and then the bullpen. It was
To me, he's
worst
he's
game
the
of the
biggest
season.
question
Yeah.
of this year. I mean,
Yes.
there's uh, I don't know what's happening there. I
Yes.
really don't.
Yes, but before May 14th here, this Wednesday, Brandon Marsh was slashing 412, 444, and 588. Those are his slash numbers. So we wanted to give our thoughts on what Brandon Marsh's strong return really could mean for the team here. Can he keep this going and being this productive? I mean, is he going to have slash numbers like this in July? Probably not. But the fact of the matter is, after his rehab assignment, Len, he found some consistency. He really did. And granted, it's only 18 plate appearances coming into this Wednesday night game, but he got off on the wrong foot at the beginning of this season, and he struggled, and went on the IL with that hamstring injury. And again, after the rehab assignment at Lehigh Valley, he's now showing us something from an offensive standpoint. I don't necessarily think he's getting lucky. I think he has found something. He needs to keep that consistency going because that's what this team needs desperately at this point from a batting standpoint. They need some sort of consistency. And again, he's not going to be batting 412, from here on out. But that consistency, I think, is what is really needed. And I think Brandon Marsh could actually help provide it to this team. What are you thinking?
I think he's an average baseball
You're wary.
player.
Yeah.
I mean, look, obviously he was on the lowest of lows, before he went on the injured list. And, who knows, maybe that contributed to the batting woes. He was hitting 0.95 when in his last game on April 16th before he went, an OPS of 387, which is nothing. Since then he has raised his numbers up. They're still subterranean. He's still hitting below the Mendoza line at 186, but he's a fourth outfielder on a contending team. And look, I know the Phillies are a contending team too, but I don't really see Brandon Marsh at this point as someone who is an everyday outfielder. I don't know. I just don't. And then maybe that's just me.
I had so much hope. Yeah.
I don't really know how much room there is for growth at this point either. Like he is what he's going to be. I think. I don't think that there's another level waiting to be unlocked here. So yeah, he's gonna. The law of averages is gonna work its magic, and he's gonna round himself out. And he's currently hitting 186. Well, he's not going to be down there forever. He'll probably finish a year like 240 or something like that. He'll hopefully he continues this hot streak for a while. That would be great. Any help that the Phillies can get would be great. But to expect him to carry the load for months at a time is asking a lot for a guy of his caliber.
I mean, you make some really good points at the beginning of the season when Rob Thompson said, we want him to be the everyday center fielder. We want him hitting against lefties and giving him the struggles. I was all for it. I said, absolutely. Let him take the bull by the horns and let him get this done so that he has the chance, has the opportunity. He's a veteran on this team and just completely stumbled out of the gate. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, okay, there goes my take. We hardly ever do any hot takes or anything like this on the show. And I'm thinking, boy, that really stunk. But now with this consistency that we're seeing from him after his rehab assignment, thinking to myself, it's baseball. This stuff happens. Guys get streaky.
You're going to go
they get hot or whether they're
awful
cold.
streaks like he was on, and you're going to get on hot streaks like he is on.
Yeah.
So that's the game. That's how it goes. And he is a guy that can, play a lot of games for you. He can give you that versatility in center or left field. You can use him where you want to use him. And ideally, that's what would happen. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I consider him to be an everyday major league outfielder, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
They had him in a platoon for how many years? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a platoon for many years. I guess there's a reason why. I guess there's a reason why I'm not out managing there, huh?
Probably a lot of reasons.
Yes, absolutely. All right, buddy, before we go to a break, you have anything else with regard to Phillies or Brandon Marsh?
Well,
Too?
we did talk about the awful game tonight. They it was a doubleheader. They did win the first game of the
Yes.
doubleheader 2-1. So just want to throw that out there. I mean, they did. I think the Cardinals were on a 10-game win streak, which the Phils busted up there, and they have started a new one at one by beating the Phillies tonight. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
we'll hopefully the Phillies can move on. They showed a stretch of the games coming up, and they're playing Pittsburgh, they're playing Colorado, and then they're playing the Athletics. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Pittsburgh and Colorado, those need to be sweeps.
Yes, they do.
Those
They have
those
to
are
be.
not teams that you drop games to. Those are bad bottom of the dreck, just bottom of the barrel
Yes.
baseball teams. Colorado especially. They'll at least the Pirates have some interesting players, and I think the Phillies are going to run into Paul Skeens, which is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
So I'll give a little bit of grace, but I still think that the Phillies should not be dropping a game to either of those teams. So
All
we'll
right,
see.
very
We'll see what
good.
happens.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens for sure, and we're going to certainly be talking about the Phillies in the weeks to come and months to come, of course. But before we go to our break, if you are watching us on YouTube, subscribe, and you can hit that bell to be notified when we post new videos. If you are listening to us on whatever podcast platform you're on, Apple Podcast, Spotify, subscribe over there as well. We are on various social media sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter/X. I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. Like our Facebook page, over on Threads as well. And you can catch me on Blue Sky. Jeff Warren, just search me out there. Len, you're not going to be getting on social really anytime soon again, are you?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
I think about it every now and again, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
You're enjoying it. You're enjoying life without it.
Yeah, honestly, it's life is better without social media.
It really is.
I think a lot of the not a lot, but some of the problems in this country
Yes.
could be solved if social media just went away.
Oh, you ain't just whistling Dixie. All right. You take a swig there, buddy. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be back in just a bit with some Philadelphia Union talk and some Flyers talk. Stick with us. All right, we are back, and why don't we get into that Philadelphia Union talk that we talked about earlier? They're number 3 in the Eastern Conference at this point in the season. Len, they look and appear as though they have the depth and identity to really keep things pushing forward here with this team. I thought was interesting. So they had a draw against Columbus, and that was an interesting match. I didn't get a chance to watch the entire match, but Daniel Gazdag, who initially was given to Columbus for, I think, like $4 million or so. Interesting watching him out there. Not sure he's really going to be the type of fit that Columbus needs from him with his skill set. But what I thought was interesting in the matchup, I don't know if did you watch the matchup at all? Like I said, I
caught the second half of the game, and that was a tough one because that was a they were up 2-1 with a couple minutes left, and Columbus scored a goal to draw even, and it feels like in their home stadium, the Union let a couple points slip through their fingers that they should have had that game.
Yeah, something that I noticed, and when I went over to a site that we'd like to go to, PhiladelphiaSoccerNow.com, we have some friends over there that do some great writing. Our friend Josh Schuster comes on the pod every now and again to talk about the Union as well. Kai Wagner was very interesting in this game. He had an excellent game defensively. But he wasn't the focal point of the Union's buildup. In previous matches, his crosses were the team's main creative outlet, but this time the Union found ways to kind of build through the midfield and right side as well. And I thought that was an interesting aspect to this game where they didn't necessarily need to rely on that part of Kai Wagner's offensive prowess. And even though, again, it was a draw, they only got 1 point out of that particular game. This team is still showing us that they have depth and that they have a certain energy level within them, I think. And being number 3 in the Eastern Conference is nothing to sneeze about, given last year and what the expectations were for this team coming into this season, Len. I think we're going to start. I would still see some good stuff from the Union from here on out.
Yeah,
except for tonight. I think the last
no,
time I saw,
they won. They
did they win? They were down like 2. They were getting their
they were down
kicked.
2-0, and they came off the canvas and they actually won that game 3-2.
Oh my gosh!
Against
I can't believe it.
Against an LA Galaxy team who is the defending MLS Cup champion. So
yeah,
I mean that's and look, it's at home, but that's a good win. That's a really good win, especially coming back the way that they did. So
I didn't think they were going to win that. I was driving my kids around to their activities tonight, just checking on my phone to see what the score was. They were down 2-0. I was like, this is done.
Yeah, no, they came back and won that game. So that's a great sign right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you liking what you've been seeing thus far? Just in terms of, there's a new coach here with this team. It just seems fresh. It just seems like we're seeing a fresh Philadelphia Union team here.
It definitely does. I mean, they far exceed. Granted, my expectations coming into the season, it would be hard for them to be lower than they were. To be dead honest with you, I really did not see this. So that's a credit, to the team and the new coaching staff that's come in here that they've done what they've done so far. So from what I've seen so far, I'm very, very impressed. It's still there's those moments like I mentioned with in the Columbus game where you're just like, oh man, you just let a huge opportunity slip through your fingers to pick up a couple points on a team that's right in front of you in the standings.
Yep.
Maybe you draw even, things maybe if it ends up being tied, coming into seeding at the end of the year, maybe there's a goal differential, which the Union currently have a goal differential of plus 11.
Yep.
So that is every inch that you can get, you need, especially in those games against those teams that are directly above you. So that one was a bummer. That one was kind of, I watched it and it definitely made me mad. But by and large, the way that they performed this season has, like I said, way outperformed what I thought was going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. We just wanted to do some quick Union talk there. And, we certainly have to, Len, end our discussion here before we get to our discussion with Kelly Hinkle and my interview with her about this Flyers offseason, where the team is going. Today was a huge day, folks, for this Flyers team and organization, as Danny Briere and the Flyers front office made the coaching hire. Len, a new era is upon us. Rich Tocchet.
Rick Tocchet.
Rick Tocchet. Did I say Rich?
Yeah, you did.
What am I doing? It's late.
I ask myself that question every time I do a show with you.
I know.
What is he doing?
God, I'm tired. It's late. Rick Tocchet, their next head coach. I'm trying to do the build up here, and I completely dropped the ball. I just whoa.
You're that shortstop that's trying to make the flashy play.
Yes.
Instead of just fundamentally just getting in front of the ball.
You're right.
Scooping it up and throwing it to first.
I have no flash. There's no flash.
There's an attempt at flash, but it usually it's the flash of an airplane going into the ground.
Or it's something like that,
Yeah.
Car crash. All right. Well, yes. Rick Tocchet, folks. He is the Flyers' next head coach. A lot of us thought this could possibly happen. I was thinking that there were other options perhaps for the Flyers to take. A lot of talent out there. And I think for where this team is right now in the middle, literally the middle of this, everybody says the word rebuild, and we've certainly said it on this show too, but just the recalibration of who this Flyers team is. So I feel like I feel like I'm going to use a word that the kids or the kids say. It's mid. It's like a mid type of decision. I'm like
I
excited,
yeah.
but then I'm kind of like, I have this like optimistic aspect of this, Len, and then I have this other side of me that's like what the majority of Flyers Nation is saying online now. It's just part of the old boys club. He was a former player. Of course they're going to do this. This is the same thing they always do. Like I get it, but there's still that part of me that has the optimistic aspect, like I do every freaking year with this team, even though it's a heartbreaker. I don't know. Where are you at right now?
I want to be optimistic. I truly do. I really do. Um, but this to me, I think Rick Tocchet was always their first choice.
Yeah.
I think he was always their first, second, and third choice all at the same time. Had the guy from Denver not re-signed, David Carl, the University of Denver, had he not, gone back to school, maybe they would have given him a more serious look.
Yeah.
But I think Tocchet was the guy that they wanted all along, and it is, I've seen so many arguments, on Facebook today where I still am. I just lurk. I don't post anything, so don't feel the need to look me up. But I do look at accounts, and people were going back and forth. Well, the guys they brought in, Vigneault and Tortorella and Laviolette, they weren't Flyers guys. But it's just tough when you look at the look at the organization and you see Danny Briere, former Flyer, Keith Jones, former Flyer, Rick Tocchet,
Yeah.
now former Flyer, Bob Clark, senior advisor, former Flyer, John LeClaire, former Flyer. Like it's just the
It's like
most in
overkill.
it's
Yeah.
the most incestuous organization. Um, I have friends from a company I worked at, a while ago that we still joke about it. And we were talking about it today, and I made mention about, well, if Tocchet doesn't work out, you still have to get through, Sean Antosky and Trent Klatt and other Flyers of the past as head coaches before you maybe go in another direction. And I think I even said, like, congrats to whoever they pick sixth overall, because not only do they maybe have an NHL career ahead of them, but 30 years from now, the Flyers will hire him as either GM
Yes.
or head coach. So they've
Absolutely.
got that to look forward to. Um, it, it's just it's just the MO from the organization. So
Yeah.
when you get stuck in a malaise where you haven't made the playoffs in a few years and you have that reputation, that's what your fan base is going to do. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's just what it is. So you can't really, I think, blame people. My bigger problem, with the whole Rick Tocchet thing is, yes, he did win the Jack Adams Award, I believe 2 years ago, in Vancouver,
Yeah.
for the good season he had there. But if you look in the 9 years he's been a head coach, he's only made the playoffs twice.
Right.
So what am I exactly supposed to get excited about here?
Right.
There's
Yes.
not really a track record of great success here. So, for that reason, I just don't know. Like, I'm glad that, he was he was a good player for the Flyers. He'll have some of that hard nosed attitude that, really gets some of this fan base horny for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Um, you know, all the girls that loved him that are like in their late 40s and early 50s now, I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
they'll be thrilled he's back. Yeah, so there's that. But look, you give the guy a chance. I do I want them to succeed? Yes,
Of
I
course.
do.
Yeah.
I think that they're still a ways away talent wise. I don't think Rick Tocchet or Scotty Bowman or any great NHL coach you can ever think of, is going to do much with a team that has no first line center,
Yeah.
no number one defenseman. The goaltending is atrocious. There's, it's a team that just, has all of the bottom six guys and the bottom two pairing guys you could ever want,
Yep.
but very little of the guys up front, the stars that you need to make plays in this game, and they
Yeah.
don't have them. And until they get them, you know, and I don't, I don't know what they're going to do in this draft here. Hopefully they get a player that's going to help them out. You never know. They have a number of picks to go with here, and ideally hopefully we come back from going, man, that 2025 draft. Look at all the contributors they got for that team.
Yes.
That's what I want more than anything. But
I don't want them to swing too big, to be like, this guy has a tremendous upside, tremendous ceiling.
I think
it doesn't pan out.
I mean, I think that the Flyers are more likely to keep the pick than the Sixers, but I think the Flyers, it's not going to happen this year, I don't think, because I don't think enough money frees up. But I think next year, the next offseason, I think money is going to free up, and I think the cap is going to go up as well. And I think that the Flyers are going to go more towards, buy, and try to bring in talent, which, is fine as long as you, get the right players and,
chemistry is there.
Don't sign them to, 8-year contracts and they get hurt 2 years into it and all that stuff that seems to happen all the time in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Wait and see. Yeah. I feel like I want to be optimistic, but I feel so mid about this right now, but I want to be optimistic about it. So we're going to be talking to Kelly.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in hearing, that interview, just 'cause I want to hear her thoughts on, some of the prospects. 'Cause at this point, that's what I'm looking at. And, we don't watch any of these games. None of us have access to like the, Canadian Hockey League, the juniors, not on TV or anything like that. We don't really watch that stuff. So, I can say anything I want about any of these prospects, but I've never seen any of them play. So what do I know?
Yeah.
But there are some guys that interest me, guys I've read up on, and I have tried to read up on a lot of these guys, but I'll be interested to hear what other people think in terms of who they would like to see them take at that 6th pick.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into more NHL draft talk, some more Flyers draft talk on the PST podcast show here in the future for sure. And the draft's right around the corner. I mean, at end of June.
End of June, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like 27th, perhaps somewhere around there. But anyway, folks, that's going to do it for us right here with Len. We are going to be getting to our interview and discussion with Kelly Hinkle from BroadStreetHockey.com in just a bit. Len, buddy, you got anything else before I let you go here?
No, I am good.
All right. Sounds good. Well, buddy, we'll be seeing you later. Folks, we are going to take another quick break. But again, if you are watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to us. Seriously, we want more.
Please
views.
love us.
Exactly. We're doing well on the audio side here. The video stuff is interesting. It's like I feel like we're starting the show all over again because we're not getting hundreds or thousands of views or anything like that at this point.
It's a cool element that we haven't really done.
Yeah.
So whatever.
We're building, folks. We're building. Like and share this stuff. How about that?
Like a rebuilding Flyers team. We're just 12 years in and we're still building.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I love it. All right. Well, we're going to take a break here. And when we get back, we got our interview with Kelly Hinkle. Stick with us. All right, and we are back with one of our good friends of the PST podcast show here. And yes, she is wearing a Toronto Maple Leafs shirt right now. Very proudly, she is wearing that. Exactly. As we are about to talk about this Philadelphia Flyers team, the offseason, what the future holds for Danny Briere and company, as some big news came out today as we are recording this here on Wednesday, May 14th. We've got from BroadStreetHockey.com, Kelly Hinkle. How are you?
Great, Jeff. How are you doing? Big day for the Flyers.
Exactly. Rick Tocchet becoming the head coach. Who could have seen this coming, my friend?
Did. Yeah. Once again, the Flyers doing the thing that everyone in the media describes as the Flyers thing to do.
Yes.
Which I don't, in my mind, is always like a negative. Like, this isn't a compliment, fam.
Right.
Like, when people are saying that's the most Flyers thing to do, I don't think it's necessarily a compliment, but we keep doing it anyway. So,
exactly. It's the tradition. It's a tradition. It's culture. It's what we have come to expect from this organization. It's just, it never ceases to amaze me. So, I mean, we were going to talk about coaching towards the end of our conversation here, but let's just get into it right off the bat. again, Tocchet going to be the next head coach of this team, and Danny Briere wanting to sort of just solidify here with this coaching pick where the direction of this new Flyers era is going to go here. I'm trying, we just got the news just a couple hours ago, Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be objective about this. One,
Sure.
because it's something new. Two, because I don't want to just like what we're saying about he's a former Flyer. It's the culture thing within this organization. You look at the wins, the losses, all that with his coaching career, and you say to yourself, okay, maybe same old, same old. But again, I'm trying to be objective with, could this really work for this team to start this new era here? That is my question that I'm going to be dissecting in my head during the course of this offseason. I don't know, like, where are you at right now? Len and I talked about it a little while ago. Where are you at right now?
Well, so like, I mean, now that it's happened, I'm going to try to be as optimistic as I possibly can about it.
Right.
Because like, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason that I didn't want them to hire Rick Tocchet honestly doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he used to be a Flyer and hiring old Flyers is a Flyers thing. Like, that wasn't a consideration for me.
Right.
I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert in what it means to be an NHL head coach. However, all of us, every single one of us, has his body of work that we can all look at and objectively say, is this good or is it bad? And not even is it good or is it bad? Is it the best choice?
Is it the best
for
fit?
The Flyers where they are right now?
Yes.
I said the other day on the PHLY show that I think that if this Flyers team was ready to turn the corner into, we're going to be a contender, like starting next year, we are going to be perennial playoff contenders. We're getting into it. This is the year that we put the pedal down. We're going to do it. Okay, maybe then I'm like, all right, like, let's bring in Rick Tocchet and see what happens. I just don't think they're not there yet. I don't think anybody is expecting them to be an actually competitive cup team next season. I don't think Danny Briere is expecting them to be that. And so for me, I just would have liked them to bring in someone that, in my mind, could have been more of like a development coach.
Yeah.
Rather than like someone that could grow with the team, or someone who could continue to shape what is a pretty young team into what they're going to be.
Jay Woodcroft, honestly, for me, he was one of my top guys that I was looking at, and he checked a lot of the boxes.
I liked him. I like that since he got fired, he's been kind of on this like tour to gain as much knowledge as he possibly can. It's why he was at the Flyers training camp last year, is because he's been going all over the place. To be like, what can I learn as a head coach to take into my next job so that I can do better? That is like a huge thing to me. I don't think that you see a lot of NHL head coaches doing that kind of like proactive training of themselves for their next job. So that I thought was kind of cool. I was kind of hoping for them to go with Ferschweiler and keep Shaw on as an assistant. And like, a lot of people have argued with me, like, how can you say that you don't want Rick Tocchet when you don't, like, Ferschweiler's never had an NHL head coaching job. How do you know what he's going to be? Well, first of all, I don't. He could be a boat. I have no idea. What I do know is that he took an incredibly uncompetitive hockey program at Western Michigan. That's not a school that you heard about. Like, it's not BC, it's not BU, it's not North Dakota, it's not Denver. Like, it's not a hockey school that you heard of regularly if you casually follow college hockey. He turned that into a winning program. And every player that played for him, including Alex Bump, said that they loved him.
Right.
That to me is like, okay, this is a guy that knows how to coach a winning team, albeit at a different level, but I'm assuming that could translate. And also, he's a guy that knows how to communicate with players in a way that makes them both respect him, but also like him. And the idea that you can't like your head coach is like a weird thing, like a debate that I've been having with Charlie going back and
Right.
forth for a while. That
Yeah.
like you have to like these guys have to like dislike the head coach. I don't know why that's a thing, but
Right.
like that's what I wanted to see. Now, here's the thing. Maybe Rick Tocchet has learned lessons. Maybe Rick Tocchet will be a completely different head coach than he was in Vancouver or Arizona or whatever. All I know is that I look at Rick Tocchet's body of work and I see at best a mediocre NHL head coach, at worst a guy that I don't know, this year Vancouver was a disaster.
They
And
were.
I understand that it was mostly that these two players, JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, hated each other. I don't know that there's anything Rick Tocchet could have done to stop these two dudes from hating each other or acting like adults when they went to work, because apparently
Yeah.
they couldn't do either of those things. That said, he was the head coach that was presiding over this team that was an abject disaster this season, that did not live up to expectations, that had all this locker room drama. Like, at worst, he's the guy that oversaw that nonsense.
Right.
At best, at the very best, he's a guy that took a team that had a goaltender playing out of his mind and that was on an absolute PDO bender. He took them to the second round of the playoffs. Like, okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing, if you take away his name and you just looked at his record, there's nothing about it that like excites you. You know what I mean?
Right.
As like a head coaching, and it just seemed like the time that Danny Briere could do something exciting and like inspiring and like
New and
something that
outside
would
the box. Yeah.
exactly. And this
Yeah.
was an extremely inside the box hire. And I understand that in hockey circles, he's incredibly respected. And he was obviously going to get a head coaching job somewhere. So I'm sure that as far as the NHL, community at large is concerned, this is a big win for the Philadelphia Flyers. And I'm really hoping that he makes me feel stupid in 6 months. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
hope that at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I was real dumb for ever doubting that Rick Tocchet could do something with this team.
Yep.
But I just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he primarily coaches like a dump and chase style. I don't want, like, that's not what I want for this team. It doesn't seem to be how modern NHL teams win cups.
Well, that's
with,
why
like,
I'm hoping there's a change and some sort
I
of
hope so too.
alteration where he has
And
grown
maybe there
over
will
these
be.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be. That's the hope.
Yeah.
That is my hope heading
Right.
into this upcoming season, that it is going to be different, that we are going to
Yeah.
be able to see enhanced development with the talent that's here, which I think there are certainly questions about it, but we can certainly talk about that aspect of what the coaching is going to be at another time too, because I also wanted to dive into with you, Kelly, an article actually that was put up on broadstreethockey.com by your colleague Thomas Williams. He wrote a piece this week about the offer sheet compensation thresholds for the upcoming season here. And the Flyers have already been named as a team that really could utilize an offer sheet this summer, especially for a young top six center. And I wanted to get your thoughts about what the offer sheet threshold really means as a storyline as it pertains to this Flyers team and how they are going to be moving forward during the course of this offseason. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this.
So I would say up until the New York Islanders won the draft lottery,
Yeah.
I was very, very, very pro Danny getting out there and doing some big balls offer sheet to get somebody in here who could be a game breaker. Now, I'm not entirely sure I want them giving up that 2026 first under any circumstances.
Okay.
Because even though I don't think, like, they're obviously not tanking, they never have been. I would assume they're going to address the goaltending issue, which means that, like, just baseline, they should be better than they were this season.
Right.
That said, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they end up as like a bottom of the lottery team. Like
Right.
that wouldn't be a crazy result to me. Like they could absolutely end up where the Islanders were this season. And given how good Gavin McKenna is projected to be, I just think you gotta, like, just in case, you gotta hold on to that thing.
Yeah.
Because even if you have a 1% chance of winning the lottery, you might just, and then your entire franchise is changed.
Right.
So at this point, I still would like to see him do something with an offer sheet. Um, but something on the lower end that doesn't
Okay.
involve a first round pick. Like one of the guys we've been kicking around at Broad Street Hockey is Maverick Bork that plays for the Stars.
Yeah.
Um Mostly because he's like a lower end player, so like the threshold that you're signing him at would only require you, I think, to give up a second and a third. So no big deal there. And Dallas is, I think, one of those teams that if you target a guy with an offer sheet, they're going to have trouble matching because they're not going to want to overpay kind of like a mid-tier guy,
Right.
and you're absolutely going to be overpaying him if you issue an offer sheet. Like that's how it works. So if they do it, I kind of want to see them just kind of do what the Blues did and like going for more of those mid-tier guys. Like maybe you can steal one of them rather than going for a high-end talent. That said, like I think the guy that everyone, or at least people that I talk to, were hoping that they would end up offer sheeting is like a Marco Rossi. And I think you can get Marco Rossi in a trade.
Yeah.
And if you can trade for Marco Rossi, because like even then, like if you're trading next year's first for Marco Rossi, you can lottery protect it then.
You can.
Like there's, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you can do something
Yep.
with it to ensure that you're not, getting yourself out of the Gavin McKenna lottery too early.
Yeah.
And also I like the thing that I've been beating on, and I don't know if this would actually happen, but in my mind, it makes a lot of sense, is Owen Tippett for Marco Rossi straight up. Bill Guerin hates Marco Rossi. So,
Wow.
like he's obviously gettable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Bill Guerin, to quote Charlie O'Connor, is a size queen.
Yeah.
And Owen Tippett is a big boy. He's a big boy
Yes.
and he's fast. And like the ceiling on Owen Tippett, I think is pretty high.
Yeah.
After last season, it's not that I'm out on Owen Tippett, but at this point, he's a guy that like if we're trading him for something that we need, and we need high-end centers, and Marco Rossi is small, yes, but also he's real good.
Yeah.
And the Flyers need really good players
Yeah.
before they need to be thinking about how big they are. Like they need talent.
Yeah. God, what a trade that would be. I'd do that in a
So
heartbeat.
I know, right? So like in my mind, I'm like, maybe you can get Bill Guerin on the phone, be like, Owen Tippett's large and fast. How do you like this? And he'd probably
Right.
be like, I love large and fast. Let's do
Right.
it. So like I think that they could probably get Marco Rossi in a trade. So like I would like to see them. I do want them to be aggressive. I no longer think I want them to be aggressive in the offer sheet market because of that first round pick. I want them to hold on to it.
All right, very good. Well, as we're moving along with the conversation here, Kelly, I wanted to talk about, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but the Flyers, they did make officially a transaction during this offseason here by signing to a 1-year deal, center Rodrigo Abels for $800,000. Certainly, again, it's not the biggest transaction in the world, but Danny Briere wanted to obviously have a serviceable fourth line center in the pipeline if they need it, like they did earlier this year. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on this particular re-signing here, and what it could mean for the team?
I mean, I think it's exactly what you said. They just wanted to have some depth at center because it's still a problem that needs solving.
Yeah.
And like, we don't know yet if he's going to be able to solve it this summer. So, if they can't solve it this summer through trade or through signing a free agent or whatever, they're probably going to need to call up somebody from the Phantoms at some point. And Abels, I think when he was up, looked pretty good. He looked like
all right.
solid bottom six center. And at this point, the Flyers can't have too much center depth because the top end of the center pool is completely empty.
Right.
So it's just like a little insurance move for a guy that I think did a pretty good job when he was called upon. And so it's nice that he's being rewarded with a new contract. I like him sticking around. If he's the guy that you're calling up every time you need somebody at center, like I'm not going to be mad about it. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is, again, May 14th here on this Wednesday that we are recording this. The NHL Draft is a little over a month away at this point. So I do want to get into some draft talk with you too. Last week on the show, my co-host Eric and I, we were just talking about draft lotteries in general. Kelly, just how I was mentioning just how I can't stand them anymore. Like I just don't think they are. I really don't care for them. They don't seem to do what they were really intended to do in terms of tanking and all the. I'm talking NBA draft lottery as well, even though it worked out for the Sixers this past week. But as we are looking towards this NHL draft and what the Flyers are going to be doing, what Danny Briere and company are going to be doing with that number 6 overall pick, and I think that's why I was so initially upset last week. It's because they had technically the number 4 pick. They go down to number 6. Look, if it's the Sixers in the draft lottery and they move up to 3, I'm of course happy about it. But honestly, it still stinks in other ways for other teams. If I'm being an objective sports fan here, we still, again, have more than a month before they start making this first critical selection of this draft. What are you hoping that Danny Briere and company does with this first pick of the draft? Because it's going to be so important. It's going to be so critical.
Yeah. So just like to be clear, I am not a draft expert. Like you, Jeff, I have a full-time job. I do not have time to watch a whole lot of tape of children playing hockey. Like I just don't. So most of my opinions are based on aggregating all of the information that I can find from people who do have time to watch all of these people, including our own Charlie O'Connor.
Yes.
At this point, based on what I've read and what I think the Flyers need, my hope is that James Higgins falls to 6 and they can take him.
Okay.
He seems like a surefire, at least like second line guy. Like I feel like for me, it doesn't seem like there's very many sure things after those first 2 guys, after Misa and Schaefer. All of the other guys seem to have like a wide range of where they could end up. Like a lot of them do have high ceilings, and if they hit, they'll be good. But then those same guys also have like, but they could also, just be okay wingers, or they could maybe just be middle 6 guys. And so for me, I hope that the Flyers they don't reach. I don't want them to do what they did with Jet. I don't think that this is the place to like go totally off board and do something wacky and, pick some guy that's projected to go 12 with the 6th overall pick. Like that seems crazy.
Yeah.
I just hope like, however these first 5 shake out, I just hope they take that next guy that's supposed to be the guy, whether that's Higgins or Frondell, or even if like Martone falls that far, which seems unlikely at this point. Like I just want to see them take the guy that gives them the best possible chance to have a player that will be an impact player. And I think James Higgins to me looks like the most talented center that could probably end up at 6. That said, if he's not there, Charlie really likes Jay O'Brien. He sounds like he's got pretty good upside. So that would be fine.
Yeah.
I don't want the guy that seems like, again, the Flyers move to make, pejoratively, is this Brady Martin kid who is apparently just like a big boy smash kind of guy. And that seems to be like the biggest fear among Flyers people that pay attention to these draft things, that the Flyers will reach and take him with the 6th overall pick. And I just don't want them to do something like that. Like, I don't think this is the place. Like, it's one thing to take a gamble when you're picking 12th overall, like they did last year. You trade down to 13, you take Jet Luchenko, maybe something happens. With 6, I feel like you got to go with the guy that's probably going to be good and not reach for it. Like, if you want to do something wacky, do something like trade a couple of later picks to move up, do something wacky in the, 14 to 15 range, whatever, that's fine.
Right.
Like Charlie has been saying, I'm always stealing Charlie's thoughts, but he's very smart.
He is a smart boy.
Yeah, he's been saying like the dream would be for them to be able to draft someone like Higgins or O'Brien with 6 overall, because that's kind of like as close to a sure thing as you're going to get.
Right.
And then maybe a guy like McQueen falls to 13, 14 because of the back issue. And maybe you can trade up, and like, that's a giant chance that you're taking, but it's a giant chance with like a huge upside if it works out for you.
Yeah.
So like, that kind of thing I would be okay with. It's not that I'm against them taking swings. I just don't think you take a big swing with 6. With 6, I
Yeah,
think
I hear
you
you.
gotta get something at 6.
Yeah,
And so I'm
that's the
hoping they
point.
just do that. Yeah.
Yes, that's the point. You have to get something for the future
Yeah.
here. Like, I get trying to take a swing, and if you miss, it's a big, big miss at this critical juncture where this
Right.
team is at in terms of the restructuring. I'm tired of using the word rebuild, but just the restructuring of where this team needs to go. So,
Yeah.
before I let you go, Kelly, I do want to talk about, the draft in terms of the overall theme. And interestingly enough, this Flyer shirt that I'm wearing right here,
Mhm.
believe it or not, the story behind this, I got this at the Broad Street hockey party when Nolan Patrick was
Oh,
drafted. When
the
we
cursed draft
the
party. The
cursed
first
draft
one.
party, and it was the first time we all met each other. And I think Bill Matz actually threw me this shirt for some reason.
Amazing.
I think he actually just threw it at me. Here, Jeff, and I don't know. I think that's what happened. Long story short, but I want to get into this draft from an overall perspective again because it is such an important time in this Flyers era, this new era of this team really trying to turn the corner here. When it's all said and done, Kelly,
Yeah.
what are you hoping the theme of this Flyers draft is going to be? Say, like the day after the draft or that week after the draft when we're all dissecting these picks. What are you hoping the theme will inevitably be?
Well, since you mentioned it, before I get into it, there will be another 9th annual Broad Street Hockey Draft Party
Woo!
with our friends at PHLY. Details are going to be coming out in the next week or so, probably.
I better not be on vacation with my family again.
Well, when is the draft? The 27th? Yeah.
Yes.
So
I think
save
I
the date.
might. Yes.
Uh-oh. I know it is kind of prime vacation time, so I get it. But there will be another Broad Street Hockey Draft Party. So if you are listening and you want to come to that, just check out our socials and the PHLY socials.
They are fun,
about it.
folks. I've been to a few. They are fun. So
It's
again,
fun. It's
yeah.
fun being in a room with a bunch of Flyers fans when the Flyers are doing stuff. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
way better than watching on your couch.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm kind of hoping that just we get out of this draft and like collectively as a fan base, we're feeling like good. And whether that means good about the picks that were made or if they make trades at the draft, we're happy about those. I just think that like this Tocchet decision is the first one that Danny Briere's had to make that has that's definitely like a split opinion on.
Yeah.
There hasn't really been a lot that he's had to do that I think have been like objectively like you can't look at it and be bad. Like you can't look at the Michkov pick and be like that was a terrible idea. Like
Right.
that was just objectively good. Like nothing that he's done so far has been polarizing in any way.
Right. Even the trades earlier this year,
right.
like even the trades were not as polarizing.
No, I think like some people really liked Frost and Farabee. They seem to be very popular among like younger fans, which is cool. So I know a lot of people were upset, but I think a lot of people, but I don't think anyone looked at them and were like, "Woo, terrible idea! You're really going to regret that." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were moves that probably had to be made. Freeing up the cap space was good, and I don't think either one of those players is going to turn out to be good enough that we're going to like really regret it at the end of the day.
Right.
This Tocchet move, though, is the first one where people are, I think, genuinely like some people really love it and some people really, really hate it. And so I think we're heading into this draft for the first time with Danny Briere's kind of like the opinion on him being a little bit up in the air as far as general managers go, because he hasn't given us a reason yet to not like what he's been doing. So I just hope that we come out of this draft without thinking like, whew, really blew that, or wow, can't believe they did that, or wow, that looks really stupid. Like just like I want to head into this offseason feeling like positive and optimistic. And I think if they're able to, like, obviously no one knows if you nailed the draft pick for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like people can pretend that they know with certainty that Zeev Buium is going to be better than Jet Luchenko. Nobody does.
Right.
I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. We're not going to know for like 3 or 4 years if that was a giant miss or not.
Yep.
So far, honestly, it's looking kind of even, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're not really going to know, but there's going to be like a vibe. You know what I mean? Like if they end up taking James Higgins, I think the vibe's going to be like, cool.
It's going to be
definitely
good.
Got a guy that's going to help the team.
Yep.
If they do something dumb, like reach on Brady Martin because he's a big Flyers guy, I think a lot of people are going to be like, ooh, I don't know.
You're going to see a lot of toilet memes. Yeah.
Yeah. it's just one of those things where then you're gonna start having people like for so long the vibes have been so negative around this team.
I know.
And
Yes.
since Danny Briere's come on, for the most part, they've been pretty positive. And I would just like to see that continue because it's a lot more fun when people
Yes.
are not miserable about this hockey
Absolutely.
team. And so
Absolutely.
I'm just hoping that whatever trades are made, whatever picks are made, there's no one that can look at them and objectively be like, this sucks. And I
Yeah.
think that they can very easily come out of this without anybody thinking that it sucked. And so like that's like it's a very low bar. That's really all I need from them. It's just don't mess it up.
Exactly.
Just don't
Don't
mess it up.
screw it up, Danny. Come
Yeah.
on, don't screw it up. Great way to
you.
end this discussion. She is Kelly Hinkle from BroadStreetHockey.com. You can also see her awesome discussions and faces over at PHLY when she's
I'm often
talking to our
doing
good
this.
friend. Yeah, she's talking to our good friends Charlie O'Connor, Bill Matz, and the crew over there as well. I know you are on Blue Sky, my friend. Folks can search out Kelly Hinkle there. I know you're on Threads as well and other places. There's too many. There's just too many anymore.
Mostly Blue Sky these days.
Yeah, and
I
that's a
pop
good
over
choice.
to the place from time to time, but
Yeah.
for the most part, Blue Sky. Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to let you go, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time. So very much appreciate it. And I hope you'll join us at some point down the road.
Always love doing it. Thank you, Jeff.